Hi, I'm Kathleen Small. I'm the Director of Family Services and Medical Outreach for Down Syndrome Connection of the Bay Area. And this is my son. What's your name? Sam, that's right. And how old are you, Sam?
8.
He's 8. That's right. Dr. Spinazzi asked me to come and talk to you about my son's dual diagnosis, and I was going to come in person, and obviously we are sheltering in place, so we're coming to you from our front yard where we're trying to get some fresh air. Sam was diagnosed with autism as well as obviously Down syndrome when he was 8. Down syndrome diagnosis was at birth. Autism was at 7. I'm sorry, 7. And the thing I guess that I want to share is that I missed it for so long, and I'm an educated mom, and I don't say that to brag or toot my own horn, but you know, I'm the mom who researches and reads and listens to doctors and pays attention and spends a lot of time with her kids. And I have an older one who is almost 12 who's on the spectrum. My husband is probably also on the spectrum. We have many friends with kids on the spectrum, so I know the spectrum very well. And somehow I still missed it in my own kid. And I wasn't alone. Everybody missed it. His pediatrician missed it. His teachers missed it. His therapist missed it. We all missed it. And the person who caught it was his developmental pediatrician. And he was having some issues in school. Typical boy. He was having some behavior issues in school. And that we weren't really seeing at home. And so I knew that he was capable of not having these issues, but everything we tried with the school, everything just failed. And it got to the point where I asked our doctor, can there be something medical going on here that I'm not aware of? Hands to self. Can we look into that? And so the developmental pediatrician listened to me for about an hour on a phone appointment.
Wait.
He's asking you for the iPad. Also very typical, am I right? And the first thing she said was, I think you should have him evaluated for autism. And I said, you want to go run around the driveway? Go run some circles. I said, I will have him evaluated if that's what you think I should do, but I do not think he has autism. I'm very familiar with it, but I'm going to keep getting asked for the iPad. So, but I'll take him. So I took him, and when the day he got evaluated, he was very much his best self. He was very engaged. He was cooperative. And I thought, there's no way they're going to tag him with autism. Just no way at all. And they did. And then they explained to me why. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess he does have it. But it was a shock to me because it looked nothing like it looked in my older son. And I know autism is a spectrum and everybody's a little different. Believe me, I know that. But, you know, my older son was more your standard trouble with eye contact, extreme focus on, you know, perseverating on certain things that interested him, rigidness when things don't go according to plan. Sam was none of that. He has great eye contact when he's not busy asking for the iPad. He's very engaged. He's very smiley. He's very easygoing. He can be very cooperative. So none of those red flags were there. And the things that they pointed out, as being issues, were mostly to do with language. I had noticed when he was about 6, you know, most kids with Down syndrome have difficulty with language. And so for the longest time, I felt like with his peers, they were sort of tracking on slowly gaining language. And then suddenly the peers took off and Sam didn't. And I thought he had apraxia, which he also has, but I didn't catch the autism. And that was a big thing that the woman who did the diagnosis pointed out, was the way he was using language. The fact that he wouldn't spontaneously use language very much at all. He would repeat anything you ask him to. He would try, although it comes out sounding very differently thanks to the apraxia. But he'll try to repeat anything, but he won't use it spontaneously. So every day I would pick him up at school and say, "How's your day?" And he would say, "Day." Or I'd say, "How was school?" "School." Or I'd say, "Do you want to eat?" And he'd say, "Eat." He'd just always repeat the last word. There wouldn't be any contextually appropriate answer. That was a big thing. He has a hand gesture he does, which looks like jazz hands, which we all thought was super cute, is apparently a stim. He does some verbal stimming too, a little bit of moaning, but we've seen that in other kids with Down syndrome too, so that didn't really jump out at me. So all of these things were there, but they were so hidden and nobody caught it. And I think to myself, I should have caught it. I have another kid on the spectrum. I have a husband who's probably on the spectrum. I know people on the spectrum. I don't have issue with people being on the spectrum. It's not like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to be my kid. It's not that at all. I just missed it. And so I think about families where, for a lot of reasons, maybe it's a language barrier, or maybe they don't have access to the resources and information to let them know what it's like, what to be looking for, what to look out for. And how long does their kid go undiagnosed because they miss it too? And I wouldn't change Sam at all, but I do wish I'd had the diagnosis earlier, because some of the therapy we're doing is helping a lot. Like you saw there, he answered how old he was. He never would have done that 2 years ago. He couldn't have done it. And he told you his name. He also could not do that 2 years ago. At 6 years old, a kid with Down syndrome who is 6 should be able to answer those questions, but mine couldn't have. And I wish I'd known, because I wish I would have had access to the therapies earlier. So when Dr. Spinazzi's been doing this work on Down syndrome and autism, I'm really excited, because I think that it's going to help a lot of our families, especially if more pediatricians are aware that it can look very different in Down syndrome, and can get those services earlier when they're needed. So thank you for listening to me. I went on a little longer than I intended to, and I hope you're using Down Syndrome Connection of the Bay Area as a resource when appropriate. All of our programs are open to kids with a dual diagnosis as well, and we're doing more to try to support those families in particular. And I also want to thank you for all you're doing on this COVID-19 coronavirus. I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you have the protective gear that you need, and we will continue doing our part to flatten the curve by staying here at home. All right, bye.